the decade of the 1940s, farmers grew corn, oats, soybeans, alfalfa, and clover. They were completing the change from using draft horses, horses with names like Kit and Kate, Mabel and Molly, to using International Harvester and John Deere tractors to do their field work. Farmers still joined together in crews called threshing rings to harvest oats, but by the end of the 40s, most were using mechanical combines, pulled by tractors and driven by one man to harvest their oats and beans. And farmers were full swing into planting hybrid seed corn, taking advantage of breakthroughs in genetic research done in the 1920s and 30s. And it's no coincidence that commercial fertilizers, herbicides, and pesticides first began to appear on farms after World War II. During the war, the nation had built large industrial plants that produced ammonium nitrate. It was used in making explosives. At the end of the war, these same companies used ammonium nitrate to produce fertilizers, and farmers were encouraged to use them. The pesticide DDT was also used during the war. The military sprayed it on troops stationed in the Pacific Islands to protect them from mosquitoes and malaria. After the war, farmers used DDT to kill flies around barns. And in the 50s, they used it to get rid of corn borers and grasshoppers. DDT is now banned in the United States. As part of its wartime research on biological weapons, the U.S. government started a crop research division in the early 1940s. Its mission was to develop chemicals that would destroy plant life. By the end of the 40s and into the early 50s, a derivative of this research called 2,4-D became popular among farmers. They used it to kill broadleaf weeds, and it is still employed in small quantities today with other agricultural chemicals. If our government had not ended the war with Japan with the atomic bomb, the precursors of 2,4-D might have been dropped on Japan's fields to destroy its crops and starve the Japanese people.
Farmers were getting squeezed pretty badly because of the high interest rates. Land prices were booming. And essentially, those kinds of economic conditions provided the background for what became known as the farm crisis, the real big farm crisis since the Great Depression. There were a lot of suicides. We heard on the news where stressed farmers would shoot their bankers, and just a whole lot of nasty behavior that came out of this stress, this huge psychological problem that nobody really knew how to deal with. In the beginning, we were primarily concerned with demonstrating methods of low-cost farming with on-farm research. Very early on, we wanted to get involved with Iowa State, believing that Iowa State needed to have a little bit of change in its course, particularly if we were concerned about reducing the reliance on commercial fertilizers and pesticides. When Practical Farmers began, there was no organization, at least that we were aware of, that was specifically conducting on-farm research, scientifically sound research, and then trying to promote that among the farming community generally. People in conventional agriculture are affected by what Practical Farmers does, even though they may not realize it, because their organizations, because their university has been affected by it. Because we have tried very hard to maintain a good working relationship with farm organizations, most of whose members might be in conventional farming, we have been able to influence how they think about things. Their value systems, I think, have become much more sensitive to the environment, to the land, to the quality of the land as well as the quality of life. A lot of what farmers have to deal with from year to year is affected strongly by the kinds of farm programs that the government may devise, as well as by the markets for their products worldwide and even down to the local level. And I would imagine that as time goes by and the population becomes even more concerned about their environment, about the way their food is grown, that Practical Farmers will be at least as necessary in the future as it has been in the past. I think that will only get stronger as time goes by. As we look at the concern about global warming, we're just right in the driver's seat with the kind of way we do farming.
If you're a chef, you want to, where does this come from? The provenance of your food ingredients is not only is it important and healthfully important, It's the interesting part. Where does this come from? What variety is it? How is it grown? How fresh is it? You know, the putting the faces behind the labor. And I sure love hanging out around the farmers and learning a lot about what it is. It's just the most intricate, fascinating. Talk about an entrepreneurial business. It's an amazing, amazing vocation, avocation. I think it has to be a calling, and a lot of just plain good luck to have the responsibility for the land. And PFI farmers seem to be a very creative, inventive, sincere lot. You know, it's nobody's taking their growing practices for granted. They're always trying new things. You know, farming is an extremely creative business, and you know, our culture has made much ado about artistry in terms of, you know, like paintings on a wall. Well, I'm sorry, but I think that the most important cultural artistry that we have is how we construct the basic elements of our life, which would have to be mostly our food and our agriculture. Agriculture is our culture. I see PFI as like a communications forum, certainly talking about best practices, talking about marketing practices, and I think the field days are they're lots and lots of fun. But I also think it's a way, it's about people who are really into farming as a business and a way of life. And I love the name, Practical Farmers of Iowa. We're talking about people's practical experiences, and it's not something you have to wait 10 years to find out from. You know, farmer so-and-so will tell farmer so-and-so, well, this is how I did it this year, and this is what happened. A, this didn't work, or B, this was fantastic. And it's a very person-to-person network. I love to read the PFI policy listserv. There's national news sources are cited, and then things of so-and-so, do you have anybody know such and such for sale? I need such and such. You know, all of these different kinds of very experiential communications go on. It's a very personalized network. You're talking to somebody who actually did it, and this is what happened. These are old ways that people have always learned from each other. It's a whole lot of fun. And also when something difficult happens, there's a support network there too. It's community capital, and it's extremely valuable.
It is a great reward for me in looking back over the years to see the kind of people that have been attracted to the organization, the value systems they have, the fact that there are a lot of young people that are involved in this organization, young people that you don't typically find when farm organizations get together. When you have families come with little kids, babies and that sort of thing, that's just not typical in the Iowa farm community where the average age is, 60 or so. And that means health. That means you've got the future. You're doing the right kinds of things. And these are good people. It makes me feel so good to go to an annual meeting and just see all of that and to know that it's something they prize.